a photorealistic portrait of a stern American man in his early 60s, with salt and pepper hair and a business suit. His expression is commanding, a man used to control, but his eyes betray cracks of worry and frustration. Background could be a dimly lit office or a phone screen glow on his face, symbolizing his attempts to regain control. Text, Father, in Helvetica. Bold white, at the top left corner. If you've ever felt dismissed, betrayed, or made to feel invisible, or maybe you've experienced the deepest loneliness, or that unbearable pain of losing those you love, share it. Leave a comment, tell me where you're watching from. And don't forget to subscribe, because maybe the next story will remind you of your own strength. On the night of my birthday, my phone lit up with a single message. Don't wait up. We're at Ethan's promotion party. Oh, and I put the $200 dinner on your card. Cool? I stared at the words until they blurred, until the numbers swam across the screen like a cruel joke I'd already heard too many times. My thumb hovered, as if replying might change the truth, but there was nothing left to say. The ballroom around me felt enormous in its emptiness. 50 chairs lined in perfect rows, dressed in white linens, each one holding the ghost of a guest who never arrived. The cake, 3 layers of buttercream roses, waited for hands that would never slice it. The candles stood like soldiers who would never be called to duty. Even the balloons seemed restless, drifting toward the rafters as though trying to escape the weight of the room. I could hear the playlist I'd curated in the background. Upbeat songs meant to soundtrack laughter, clinking glasses, people singing, "Happy Birthday." But here, with only me to listen, every note sounded false, tinny, like cheer painted over a crack in the wall. The air conditioner hissed above, the only steady voice in the room, like the building itself was trying to hush me into silence. I lowered the phone to the table and let it rest beside the polished silver knife waiting to cut the cake. The blade caught a stripe of cold neon light and held it against my skin. I could almost hear the room asking, "Will you cry now? Will you finally admit you're nothing more than their afterthought?" But I didn't cry. My chest ached too sharply, for tears. Inside my head, a chorus of excuses marched on repeat. They forgot. They're busy. It's Ethan's big night. I had whispered those lines to myself for years. Tiny doses of poison disguised as forgiveness. Tonight, the antidote came in the form of brutal clarity. I wasn't forgotten by accident. I was ignored, by design. I reached for the bottle of sparkling water chilling in the ice bucket and poured it into a single flute. The fizz rose bright and hopeful for a moment, then died in seconds, leaving the glass as still as the room around me. I raised it anyway, a toast to myself, my own witness. "Happy birthday, Claire," I thought. "You're the only one who showed." Up. The text still glowed on the screen, mocking me with its casual cruelty. $5,200. My brother's celebration, my parents' approval, my name on the bill. I could almost hear them laughing in that other room, champagne spraying, music pulsing, my mother's voice proud and loud. Meanwhile, I sat here surrounded by chairs that celebrated nothing but absence. I set the glass down and pushed the phone away, face down so I wouldn't see the next excuse, the next dismissal. And then, without thinking, my hand reached for my laptop. Its glow washed over me like a second chance, a promise sharper than any candlelight. If they wouldn't give me a place at their table, I would build a stage they couldn't ignore. The longer I sat, the louder the emptiness became. It wasn't just silence, it was layered. The clink of unused forks stacked too neatly, the squeak of a serving cart abandoned at the edge of the room, the faint hum of lights overhead that seemed embarrassed to still be on. Every sound reminded me of something that was supposed to be here, but wasn't. I scanned the ballroom again. 50 name cards, each handwritten, curled slightly at the corners where my hands had pressed too hard. Each one had felt like a promise. Tonight, I told myself, they would see me. But the chairs guarding those names looked like sentinels in mourning, lined up for a funeral no one attended. The cake sagged under its own weight, roses collapsing into tired swirls of buttercream. A thin drip of frosting slid down the side like a tear that couldn't hold itself together any longer. I imagined the candles lit, wax spilling in warm rivers, laughter echoing off these stone walls. Instead, the air conditioner hissed, cold and steady, a lullaby for abandonment. Inside, my chest felt like that cake, beautiful on the surface, collapsing quietly at the edges. I kept thinking, maybe someone will walk in. Maybe they're late. Maybe this is all just a mistake. Hope flickered like those unlit candles, stubborn even when there was no fire. But my phone stayed face down. No footsteps. No voices. Just me. I picked up the cake knife, its silver edge trembling in my grip. And for a moment I considered cutting the first slice, pretending the party had happened, pretending the people it was meant for still mattered. But the thought made me nauseous. I set it down gently, the clatter too final for my heart. I poured another glass of sparkling water, raised it, and whispered to the room as if someone might hear. Happy birthday, Claire. My voice sounded too small against the cavernous hall, and then, as if to mock me further, my phone lit up again, this time with a live video notification. Ethan's name glowed bright across the screen. My hand hovered. Did I dare watch? My finger hesitated above the screen, but curiosity won over dignity. I tapped the notification. Suddenly, my empty ballroom dissolved into the roar of another room. His room. Ethan's face filled the screen, flushed with champagne and fluorescent lights. He was on someone's shoulders, shouting above the crowd, his grin wide, his voice sharp. Self-made, baby, he bellowed, spraying golden foam across a sea of clapping hands. People laughed, lifted glasses, shouted his name like a chant. The camera tilted and caught Mom, her eyes shining with pride, her hand pressed to her heart as though his success was hers. Dad was beside her, raising a glass, mouthing the words so proud, and then came the comments, tiny neon bullets firing up the screen. Mom, so proud of you, honey. Dad, knew you'd do it. Colleague, to Ethan, the man of the hour. I sat frozen, the sound bleeding through tinny speakers, clashing against the hollow playlist still looping in my room. For a moment, the two soundtracks collided, his triumph layered over my failure, his applause echoing in a space where even my own footsteps felt too loud. I whispered to no one. Self-made? With whose money holding the scaffolding? The bitterness lodged in my throat, metallic and heavy. Every flight he bragged about, every dinner he toasted, every suit he wore. It all shimmered on the bones of my credit card. Yet here he was, celebrated as though he had climbed Everest barefoot, while I sat in the shadow of my own forgotten birthday. The camera swung wide again, showing a stage draped in gold, a banner that read, "Congratulations, Ethan." The crowd roared louder, chanting his name, while my name, Claire, was folded into silence, forgotten like the wax melting in my imagination. I tilted my phone down, its glow lighting my lap like a cruel spotlight. Around me, 50 empty chairs stared back, blank witnesses to a party that never began. The cake sagged further, buttercream collapsing into itself. I wanted to throw the phone, shatter the screen, but instead, I reached for my laptop. My reflection flickered faintly against the dark glass of the screen before it came alive with a glow sharper than champagne bubbles. On the desktop, waiting like a weapon, sat a folder labeled, "Only if they make me." The folder stared back at me from the corner of the desktop. Only if they make me. I had named it months ago, half in anger, half in surrender. I never thought I'd open it. Tonight, their message turned the key. With one click, the screen filled with evidence. Rows of PDFs and screenshots stacked like dominoes, each one a piece of my silence I had swallowed over the years. I opened the first. A dinner receipt, $780 at a steakhouse downtown. The signature scrawled across the bottom wasn't mine. It was Mom's, but the name embossed on the card was mine. Next file, airfare confirmations to Miami, booked on my account. Ethan's Instagram post from the same weekend appeared beside him on a yacht, captioned, "Hard work pays off." My stomach twisted. Hard work? Yes, mine. Then the voicemails. I slipped on my headphones, bracing for voices that had always cut deeper than they knew. Mom's voice, light, almost playful. "Oh, honey, we put the deposit on your card. Less paperwork that way. You're such a lifesaver." Ethan, clipped and impatient. "Front this for me, Claire. Bonus hits next month, I'll square it. Promise. Promise." A word that had expired long before tonight. I dragged the files into a new timeline, the glow of the editing software casting my face in. Pale blue, one by one, receipts slid into place, layered with their matching voicemails. My hands steadied as if they had rehearsed this moment in secret. Inside, my heart wavered between shame and fury. Part of me whispered, "You're being dramatic. They'll just call you ungrateful." Another part hissed louder, "No, they've been draining you dry for years and calling it family." I zoomed in on the date stamps, circled totals with a red marker tool. Each cut was sharp, precise. I wasn't building a tantrum. I was building a case. The playlist in the empty hall kept looping some cheerful chorus about love and celebration. I muted it, letting the quiet sharpen the edges of my resolve. I leaned closer to the screen, eyes reflecting lines of evidence scrolling by. My voice barely broke above a whisper. "I'm not dramatic. I'm precise." The export bar appeared at the bottom of the screen, crawling slowly forward like a fuse lit toward detonation. The export bar crawled across the bottom of the screen, a thin white fuse burning pixel by pixel. 92%. 98. Then the final chime, soft and sharp, like the click of a lock snapping open. My chest tightened, not with fear, but with something cleaner. Anticipation. The file sat there, gleaming with its cruel title, The Wallet Daughter. I hovered the cursor as though it might burn me. For a heartbeat, I thought about deleting it, shutting the laptop, erasing every trace of tonight. Maybe I could swallow this betrayal the way I had all the others. Maybe silence was safer. But then I looked around the hall. 50 empty chairs stared back, rows of witnesses who would never speak. The cake sagged another inch, roses wilting into puddles of sugar. A balloon popped quietly in the corner, the sound startling in the stillness. The room felt like it was holding its breath, waiting for me to choose. I opened the family group chat. Their names lined the top: Mom, Dad, Ethan. The three people who had rewritten me into nothing more than a walking credit limit. My fingers trembled once, then steadied. I pasted the link. Watch this before sunrise. The message pulsed blue beneath my name. The phone buzzed in my palm as though even it couldn't believe I'd finally spoken. For a moment, nothing. Absolute silence. Then, 3 dots. Someone was typing. The dots vanished, returned, vanished again. I pictured them on the other side of those glowing bubbles. Ethan surrounded by his party, Mom wide-eyed in her pearls, Dad gripping his glass too tightly. I imagined their faces folding in confusion, anger, denial. The view count on the shared drive ticked upward. 1, then 3, then 7. A pulse. A heartbeat. Proof that the silence on my phone was not silence at all. They were watching. I leaned back in my chair, the laptop's blue glow painting the frosting on the untouched cake, turning it ghostly. My hands were steady now. My voice, when it came, was low and sure. "Truth doesn't need candles," I whispered. "It burns without smoke." My phone lit again. A new message. One word from Dad. "What is this?" Dad's message blinked on my screen. "What is this?" Barely a minute after I'd dropped the link. The words looked blunt, like a hammer swung without aim. He wanted control, the way he always did, demand clarity, snuff out the fire before it spread. I didn't reply. Instead, I watched the little gray counter in the corner of the shared drive climb. 7 views. 11. 14. Each tick felt like a breath, dragged through a narrow throat. Somewhere, miles away, their party had gone quiet. I could imagine the champagne flutes frozen halfway to lips, Mom clutching her pearls, Ethan's grin faltering as the laughter around him thinned. Then the group chat erupted. "Mom. Claire, take this down right now. You're humiliating us." Ethan. "Are you insane? Do you have any idea what you've done?" Dad. "Answer me. Now." 3 voices, 3 flames flaring at once. My phone vibrated across the linen tablecloth, buzzing like a trapped insect. I let it. I pressed the screen face down, the glow leaking faintly across the frosting of the untouched cake. Inside, my chest no longer felt hollow. The ache was still there. But it was shifting, hardening into something steadier. Power. Not the loud kind they wielded at parties and promotions, but the quiet kind that hums in your veins when the truth finally belongs to you. I pictured them hitting play again and again, scrambling for explanations, for ways to twist the evidence back into excuses. But my voiceover left no room for interpretation. Every receipt aligned with a voicemail. Every screenshot paired with a caption of Ethan bragging about hard work. Every cut was surgical, precise, undeniable. Still, the texts kept coming. "Mom, you're being dramatic. This isn't how family solves things. Ethan, delete it before people outside see, please." The word please landed oddly in my chest. For years it had been mine to say, "Please notice me. Please invite me. Please pay me back." Now it was theirs. The sea. View counter climbed to 27. Then 32. My finger hovered over the chat, tempted to answer, to twist the knife. But instead I leaned back, letting the silence stretch. Their panic was loud enough without me. And then, another notification. Not from them. A repost alert. My video had just left the family chat and stepped into the world. The first repost alert blinked at 3:02 a.m., a username I didn't recognize. Then another, and another. Within minutes, my video wasn't just ours anymore. It was everywhere. Twitter threads unraveled in real time. TikTok edits appeared, strangers, stitching my receipts with their own. Reddit titles screamed, "The Wallet Daughter Exposes Toxic Family." My phone vibrated non-stop, the sound sharp and relentless, like hail against a window. The comments came fast, each one a spark catching dry grass. Same. My parents did this to me. Parasites. This hit me in the spine. Hard work? He stole her life. The hashtag #ThouAreWalletDaughter bloomed across the screen, multiplying faster than I could refresh. I sat in the ballroom, staring at the glow of strangers defending me harder than my own family ever had. Their words poured into me like oxygen after years of breathing shallow. My story wasn't collapsing anymore. It was expanding, stretching across cities I'd never seen, voices I'd never heard, all echoing the same truth. I wasn't alone. Meanwhile, the family chat throbbed with panic. Ethan. Claire, you need to stop this before it ruins me. Mom. People from church are messaging. Take it down now. Dad. Do you understand the damage you're causing? I didn't reply. I let their fear spill, unchecked while the world pressed share. Their reputation was no longer mine to protect. The weight had shifted. For once, the silence came from my side, and it was theirs that screamed. The view count passed 10,000 before the hour turned. The algorithm had its teeth in the story now, chewing every frame, feeding it to anyone awake enough to click. And they were clicking. I leaned forward, the laptop glow painting the frosting of the untouched cake silver. My pulse slowed, steady and sure. The power I felt wasn't cruel. It was clarifying. For years they had written me invisible. Tonight, the world underlined me in bold. A sharp knock rattled the ballroom doors. I froze. Through the glass pane, I saw the outline of someone familiar. My mother's eyes, wide, searching. The knock came again, harder this time, the wood shuddering against its frame. I swallowed, my throat suddenly dry. When I stepped closer, the faint yellow light from the hallway cut across the ballroom floor, and through the glass pane I saw her, my mother, her eyes wide and frantic, darted around like she was already caught in a storm. I opened the door a crack. The cold hallway air swept in, carrying her perfume mixed with something sharper. Fear. She didn't wait for permission. She pushed, her way inside, heels clicking too loudly against the empty floor. Claire, she whispered, voice trembling. What have you done? I stayed still, my hand braced against the door, as if keeping it open was the only tether between us. I told the truth, I said, steady. She shook her head violently, clutching her coat tighter around her shoulders. You're tearing us apart. People are already calling. Your father can't breathe. Your brother. He's on the verge of losing everything. Her words snapped like branches underfoot. Once they would have made me crumble. Tonight, they only made me colder. You mean, I said, tilting my head. He's on the verge of losing what he built on me. Her face pinched, the lines deepening, decades of practiced dismissal flashing behind her eyes. You've always been too sensitive. Blowing this out of proportion, airing family business like dirty laundry. Do you think strangers on the internet care about you? They're laughing at us, Claire. At all of us. I stepped closer, letting the laptop's blue glow wash over my face. No, Mom. They're not laughing at me. They're finally seeing me. For a long moment, she said nothing. Her gaze flicked to the cake, the untouched chairs, the screen still pulsing with comments. Her lips parted, but no defense came out. Just the faint sound of her breathing, shaky, uneven. Take it down, she whispered, softer now, almost pleading. Please, think of your brother's career. Think of our reputation. The silence stretched until even the AC seemed to hush. My chest ached, but not with guilt, with clarity. For years, I thought about your reputation more than my own, I said. Tonight, I'm thinking about me. Behind us, my phone buzzed across the table. Dad's name lit the screen. His voice was about to join the storm. The phone buzzed again, rattling against the silver knife beside the cake. Dad's name glowed across the screen, bold and demanding. I let it ring once, twice, then slid my thumb across. Claire. His voice thundered immediately. No greeting, no pause. What the hell is this stunt? Do you realize Ethan's career is on the line? Do you realize you're dragging our family name through the mud? Mom's eyes darted to mine, urging me to say nothing, to fold like I always had. I lifted the phone closer, my voice steady. It's not a stunt, It's the truth. You're humiliating us, he barked. People at church are already whispering. Your aunt just called in tears. Do you understand the damage you're causing? Something inside me twisted, but I didn't break. The damage was done years ago. You just never cared to look at it. His breath hit the speaker, sharp and angry. Don't you dare turn this around. Your brother worked for everything he has, and now you're jealous. Jealous? The word tore from my throat, bitter and hot. I looked at Mom, who flinched as though she'd heard it for the first time. I paid for his everything. Dinners, vacations, even the suit he's wearing in that video. You signed the slips, Mom. You both knew. The silence on the line was heavier than his shouting. For a moment, all I could hear was the hum of the AC and my own pulse. Dad finally spoke, slower, lower, a warning rumble. You think the internet will save you? It'll eat you alive. Family business stays in the family. Take it down before you regret this. I let the quiet hang, every second stretching like a rope between us. Then I answered, calm and deliberate. The internet didn't betray me. You did. Mom stepped closer, her hand trembling toward mine, but I pulled back. Claire, Dad. Tried again, softer now, almost weary. This isn't who you are. I exhaled, steady, the truth settling like a stone in my chest. No, Dad, this is exactly who I am. You just never bothered to see it. The call ended with a sharp click. And then, another notification appeared. This time not from family, but from a news outlet requesting permission to use my video. The notification glowed at the top of my screen. Boston Herald requests permission to feature your video. My breath caught. It was no longer just a storm online. It was breaking into daylight. I refreshed Twitter, and my brother's name was trending. Threads dissected every frame I had edited. Strangers pausing screenshots of receipts, zooming in on signatures, connecting them to his bragging posts. A lawyer's career built on hard work, now shredded into confetti by evidence. Too sharp to deny. Then came the emails, local reporters, bloggers, even a podcast host offering to give me a platform. My inbox pulsed like a living thing. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The story was already running without me. The family chat buzzed again, frantic. Ethan. Claire, do you hate me this much? You're destroying me. Mom. Please stop. It's gone too far. Dad. Enough is enough. Take it down before our name is ruined completely. But their pleas were drowned out by louder voices. On LinkedIn, colleagues tagged each other beneath Ethan's smiling profile photo, the same one his firm had used to announce his promotion. The comments had turned acidic. Is this the guy who stiffed his sister? Financial ethics review incoming. By evening, gossip blogs plastered his face with headlines. Attorney exposed by sister's viral video. My brother's grin, once champagne slick, was now framed by words like fraud and entitlement. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the untouched cake, the frosting dull beneath the laptop glow. For years, I'd carried the weight of their silence alone. Now the silence was theirs, impossible to hide, dissected by thousands. Yet even as the fire spread, I felt no glee, just a strange, steady relief, as though I had finally set down a burden that had bent my spine for too long. Their panic wasn't my responsibility anymore. The ballroom hummed with invisible energy, vibrating from the outside world pressing in. For once, I wasn't invisible. They were. My phone rang again. Not family this time, Ethan's firm. The caller ID read, Harrison and Cole, Ethics Division. The call from Ethan's firm went unanswered. I let it buzz itself into silence, my eyes already fixed on the next timeline waiting to be built. Receipts had spoken like blades, but memories, bled deeper. I opened a folder I had avoided for months. Inside were photos, grainy phone clips, screenshots of texts that still stung even years later. I dragged them into the timeline, one by one. The first clip, me at 22, standing in our kitchen, a single candle on a cupcake. In the background, muffled laughter bled through the wall, my family celebrating Ethan's law school graduation. I had filmed myself blowing out that candle alone. The screen flickered with my younger self's forced smile, a fragile mask I could barely hold. Next, a vacation photo from Hawaii. Ethan, tan and grinning with a cocktail in hand, captioned, "Work hard, play harder." In my camera roll, taken, the same week was a screenshot of my shift schedule, back-to-back nights covering for coworkers because someone has to work. Then came the texts. "Can I come too?" I had asked. 3 little words, met with silence. Always silence. I laid them carefully into the sequence, my voice steady in the narration. They called me family when they needed money. They called me dramatic when I asked for love. Year after year, I told myself if I gave enough, they would finally choose me. They never did. The contrast was brutal. My mother's laughter on speaker beside a photo of me sitting alone in a decorated hall. My brother's boasts about sacrifice layered over bank alerts showing charges I never made. I hit play, watched it through once. It wasn't messy. It was precise. This wasn't just evidence. It was a mirror. And I knew they would hate what stared back. The upload bar filled slowly, savoring the weight of each frame. By the time it reached 100%, my phone was already vibrating with notifications. Comments poured in under the first video. This was my childhood. I feel this in my bones. Same. I closed my eyes, feeling tears sting, not from weakness, but release. My pain had multiplied, and now it was echoing. A new message lit the family chat. 3 words from Mom. "What do you want?" Mom's message glowed on my screen, 3 small words trembling under her name. "What do you want?" For years I had asked myself the same question. What did I want from them? An apology? Repayment? A seat at the table? But staring at those words now, I realized none of it would matter. What I wanted wasn't something they could give. It was something I had already taken. I opened the final project file. This video wasn't receipts or voicemails or even memories. It was closure. The first frame, the same ballroom, now littered with shadows. 50 empty chairs stood like ghosts, pushed back from tables set for a party that never happened. In the Ma'ad center sat the cake, its roses drooping. Candles burned halfway down, though no match had ever touched them. I filmed myself walking into the frame. No makeup, no armor. Just me, in the same dress I had put on hours ago, when I thought I'd be celebrating with family. I sat down at the head of the table, placed a single slice of cake in front of me, and lit 1 candle. Looking straight into the camera, I began. For years I believed if I worked harder, gave more, stayed quiet, they would finally see me. I was wrong. Silence doesn't make you strong. It makes you invisible. Tonight, I choose something different. Tonight, I choose myself. I leaned forward, breath steady, and blew out the candle. The smoke curled upward, unraveling like the last thread of a story I'd carried too long. Fade to black. I scheduled it to post at 8 a.m. sharp. By the time the sun lifted over Boston, painting the Charles River in bruised pink and gold, the view count was already climbing faster than the others. Thousands of strangers typed same in the comments, a chorus that turned my isolation into an anthem. The family chat went quiet. No more demands, no more excuses, just the silence of people who finally saw themselves reflected too clearly to deny. By nightfall, Ethan's promotion had been revoked. Headlines called him a lawyer undone by his sister's receipts. Mom had been uninvited from the very luncheon she once ruled. Dad's name floated through gossip forums, whispered alongside words like ethics violation and financial misuse. And me? For the first time, I felt weightless. Not because justice was perfect, but because I had stopped carrying their shadows. Sat on my balcony with the final crumbs of cake, the city humming beneath me, my laptop warm against my legs. Every click, every share, every same lit up the night like candles I never needed them to light. I whispered into the quiet, not to them, but to myself. Happy birthday, Claire. The flame of freedom burned steadier than any candle ever could. If you've ever been treated like your worth is measured in what you give, remember this. Boundaries aren't cruelty. Choosing yourself isn't selfish. The sweetest revenge isn't destruction. It's freedom.